Jason here with a special guest joining me all the way from over in the United Kingdom. He was a participant in the WWE UK tournament earlier this year. You've seen him on NXT, and you can see him as part of ICW's Road to Fear and Loathing tour, which kicks off in Sheffield next Saturday, October 21st. A former ICW heavyweight champion himself, the last King of Scotland, Wolfgang, is on the line. How are you, sir?
How's it going, Jason? Thanks very much for having me on.
Oh, thanks for being on. Now, you are only the fifth Scottish-born wrestler to ever sign with WWE. I know Drew McIntyre, the Highlanders, and Nikki Cross being the first four. So you're part of a pretty small class right there. What does it mean to you to be among only a handful of people representing Scotland?
It means the world to me. Like, growing up in the East End of Glasgow, you never think that you're ever going to be part of the worldwide phenomenon that is the WWE, and as you say, there has only been five, and I'm lucky enough to be the fifth of that group. I grew up watching Rowdy Roddy Piper, and I always kind of idolised him and related to him because of the kilt and the gimmick, but to actually be Scottish born and be part of the WWE, it's a dream come true, something I never thought would actually come true.
Now, this has been a pretty crazy year for you, I would imagine. I mean, being part of the UK tournament, being invited by WWE to Orlando for WrestleMania weekend. I know you grew up a wrestling fan, and now you get to hang at the Performance Center around people like Shawn Michaels and William Regal. What has this year been like for you?
It all started last November when the WWE announced that they were going to have the United Kingdom Championship tournament. The press conference down in London was a surreal experience in itself. Just standing on stage with the rest of the guys that were going to be in the tournament, Trent Seven, Tyler Bate and the likes, and obviously the current champion Pete Dunne. But to share a stage with William Regal and Triple H was just like the 14-year-old inside me was going crazy, but I had to try and hold it on together and look respectable. So I started marking out, if you will, when I got back to the hotel with my family. And then fast forward a couple of months to the actual tournament in Blackpool. It was an honour just to be invited to it, but to actually make it to the semi-finals, only to be beaten by the first ever UK champion, Tyler Bate, it's something that I'll hold dear for the rest of my life. But it didn't stop there. Later that month, I was invited over to San Antonio, Texas, where I got to see the Royal Rumble for the first time, which is something that the Royal Rumble is a match that I've always really hold close to my heart, because when I was growing up, I only ever had one VHS tape, and it was Royal Rumble 1991, where Hulk Hogan just ran amok and threw everybody out, and he was my absolute hero at the time. So to be invited over to San Antonio and getting to watch the Royal Rumble from this side of the guardrail was fantastic. And then again, we got to go to Orlando, then meet up with the rest of the guys. It was me and Tyler Bate over in San Antonio, and then Trent, Pete, and Mark all came over to meet us in Orlando. We got to go to the Performance Center for the first time. Now, this is something, again, as I said earlier, I never thought any of this was going to be possible, and especially kind of creeping up to 30 years old, you think it's kind of past. So it's a fantastic experience, and I'm loving every minute of it. Each time we get to go over, as you said, we got to go to WrestleMania. It was just unbelievable in itself. Like, I need to keep pinching myself through this entire year, because with each little thing that happens, it's a bonus with regards to everything else I've done. I've been doing this for 15 years, and this has always been the dream and the goal, and now that it's finally happened, I need to take a step back and remind myself just how lucky I am to be part of it.
Now, it's a unique position that you find yourself in that, you obviously have your deal with WWE where they can call on you whenever they need you, but you're still free to wrestle for ICW and other independent promotions. How has that association benefited you or affected your work outside of WWE? Because you were already pretty well established on the UK scene. I mean, you've been doing this, like you said, for almost 15 years now. It's not like you're a rookie, so I'm wondering what changes you've noticed.
There's certainly a lot more interest. The WWE gave us a platform to kind of showcase what we can do on a worldwide stage. I mean, the WWE network is shown pretty much in every country that has internet available. So to go from wrestling in places where there's 200-300 people watching you to then literally millions of people could see your work. You know, you can't buy that kind of publicity. And it's, as you say, it's completely unique. The kind of contract we're on, it's unheard of, where technically a WWE superstar, as they like to call us, are now permitted to keep wrestling for ICW and the local promotions that were my bread and butter coming through, like PBW, BCW, and Pro Wrestling Elite down in there, all these UK-based promotions that they don't get a lot of publicity themselves, but being able to use the likes of Pete Dunne, Wolfgang, is bringing a bigger crowd to them, but it's also getting us more publicity. And I have the luxury of refusing work now, because I've got the benefit of having that contract there. I can kind of pick and choose where I go to wrestle. So it's very disheartening when you show up to a show and there's like 30 people in the crowd. So it's good to be able to kind of just help these smaller promotions increase in volume in their fan base, but also, I mean, it's a much more relaxed environment. You don't get the catering that you get in the WWE, but certainly the fan base is still as strong.
Now, there were rumors of there being a WWE UK-based television show that would air on the network, and you and Pete Dunne, Tyler Bate, Trent Seven, Mark Andrews, all you guys would sort of be the core of that show, and then nothing really ever came of that. I mean, has anybody in WWE said anything to you about that, or about if they have plans for something like that in the near future?
I think that's still the plan. As far as I'm aware, that we filmed a couple of pilot episodes in Norwich earlier this year, and that was then used to try and sell the show to whoever would want to buy it. My understanding is that if you consider the amount of production value that's put into a WWE event and the fact that they're an American-based company, it would cost way too much right now to fly everyone over and make a show every couple of months and then fly everyone back. So I think the plan is still that we're going to have a UK show, but they don't tell us anything. They keep their cards close to their chest as far as what's going on in the background. But I would hope that one day we get our own show on the network the way 205 Live did out of the Cruiserweight Classic, or a WWE network show would be ideal for us, especially if we could produce it here in the UK. The benefit of that being I get to live at home. I don't have to move to the States and uproot everything. I hope one day that someone picks it up and buys it, or they can make it on a smaller budget so that they can sell it. But right now, everything's just up in the air.
You were on NXT a few weeks ago challenging Pete Dunne for the United Kingdom Championship at Full Sail. You know, Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate had that incredible match earlier this year at the Chicago TakeOver show. They were getting UK chants and a standing ovation. People were really into it. I know you only worked your first match here in the States earlier this year, but now that you've had the chance to do so a few times, what is the biggest difference between the American wrestling crowds that you've noticed and the British wrestling crowds?
I think wrestling fans in general are the same all over the world. You find the same passion and the same support that you get from them. The chants are maybe a bit different. Over in the UK, it's a lot more like football or soccer based. So you get a lot of soccer chants that go to songs, or different football players will have their different chants, and that kind of transfers into the professional wrestling over here. But it was amazing being over there. Obviously, the size of the crowds is, 15,000 in San Antonio and Brooklyn earlier this year, just around about SummerSlam time. So first and foremost, the size of the crowds is the first thing you notice, but there's always that same passion and support from any wrestling fan that you go to. We're a big community, and I think we're all similar no matter what your nationality is.
Around the time that WWE approached you about being part of the UK tournament, I know your family was going through kind of a difficult time. I wanted to ask you about that because a lot of people may not have seen that great story in the Scottish Sun earlier this year where you talked about that and your mother. How difficult was that for you? And more importantly, how is she doing now?
My mum's doing great, actually. Everything's as it should be. Kind of last year on my birthday, the 3rd of December, my mum came to my party and she had to leave early complaining about a headache. And it turned out to be a tumour in her head, but she's had it cut out. And her health is, it's just as good as it ever was, and she's on the mend. I think the wrestling side of it became something for her to focus on, and myself, that we could kind of just forget about the cancer and the health situation, and just kind of my mum and my dad were able to live vicariously through me for a while, and they still do. They're both the proudest parents in the world. They've never missed a show, whether it's here and now that this is all happening in the UK, over in the States. They actually came over to Brooklyn and they got to see me wrestle in the Barclays Centre in that tag match on NXT. So it's been a welcome kind of. It just kind of keeps our mind off it. But everything's happening, everything's going well health wise, and everything's as it should be, or the best we can hope just now. But yeah, she's in good spirits.
That's awesome. Now I'm happy to hear that. Now you're a 250-pound guy. Let's change topic here for a second. You're considered a heavyweight. You could easily be out there doing power moves, and yet you move around in the ring a lot like you're a cruiserweight. That's really what stood out to me about you when I first watched you wrestle. Big Show was a lot like that, I think, early in his career. Was there someone who influenced your style, or was it just a case of, hey, I need to do something to stand out, and so why not learn how to fly?
So I wasn't always 250 pounds. Like growing up, I used to love bouncing about on a trampoline, and I would do backflips and somersaults and whatever I could. I learned how to do a swanton very early on, and then over years of training and weightlifting, I got bigger and stronger throughout the year, but I never lost the agility or very much speed. So Shawn Michaels was always a massive influence in me, and when I was learning how to wrestle coming through, I would always kind of practice his elbow drops or his kind of rebound flying forearm and nipping up. I was always influenced by the smaller guys rather than the bigger guys. But I think I've kind of found a balance in my game where like you put me in against Pete Dunne, I'll throw him up in the air and slam him down and then backflip onto him. So I've got a very diverse wrestling style, I would suppose. And then I knew I had to kind of showcase what I could do in that tournament. I knew I was in there against guys who are just the same size as me, if not bigger. I had to show why I was different from them and what I could do and what I could bring to the table. And as you say, it caught your attention, and it obviously caught the attention of the right people backstage, because I was then invited to be one of the 5 that are going to kind of push forward with this UK show. So it's always something I've tried to kind of include in my game, something high flying, whether it's the swanton or the second rope backflip. I'm working on a 450. Hopefully we'll batter that out one day. And I would love to do a shooting star. It's just getting over the fear of landing on your neck. Right. And that's essentially all it is. As long as you've got the confidence in your own ability that you can do these moves safely, then why not try it? Why not climb to the top rope and throw 250 pounds on top of your opponent?
Let's talk about ICW. You've been with the promotion since day one. You've seen it grow to a point where they're able to pack 6,000 plus people into the Hydro, which is an arena over there in Glasgow. You've got to feel a sense of pride that you've been able to be part of that growth. Yeah, absolutely. It's as I said earlier, the ICW has been my bread and butter for almost 10 years now. It was never
sorry, 11 years. It was never a case of money. Like, I never got into wrestling for the money, and I don't think anyone ever does. You love it. You get into it for the love of pro wrestling and for a passion for the audience. And whether there was 30 people, or when we moved into the nightclubs later on, there was maybe 100, 150. Bigger venues then brought up to 500. And as you say, we done the Hydro last year where we get 6,000 people in there. And to walk out as the world champion into a cage match against Trent Seven with 6,000 of your kind of local fans, it's unbelievable. And people must have travelled from all over the world to be there, just not just the length and breadth of Britain. But I mean, where were those 6,000 fans all through those 10 years? So people are starting to travel for ICW now because it's worth it. It's a fantastic show. It's aimed at an over 18s audience. We don't try and we're not trying to kind of pull the wool over your eyes as far as wrestling goes. Everyone's aware of what pro wrestling is these days, and it's just trying to suspend their disbelief for an hour or two. And if you can get a little bit of alcohol at the time, that kind of helps too. That's the kind of drive. It's this kind of ICW has always been this grungy kind of underground scene. It was Glasgow's best kept secret for a long time, and I'm just glad that people are finally starting to realise that the talent is here. Whether it's the guys in the ring or the guys writing the shows, and we can compete on a larger scale with the WWE. I mean, just a few weeks before that, the WWE were running the Hydro too, and if you consider the amount of children that they get in, the amount of families that they get in, and then when you say ICW only allow in over 14s and over 16s, then it speaks for itself, just the popularity of the product these days. And I'm glad to still be a part of it, as well as start my own WWE kind of venture.
The British wrestling scene's been pretty hot for a while now. I mean, we've seen an influx of a lot of British talent here in the States. I mean, what role do you think ICW has played in that?
If you ask me, I'd personally say if it wasn't for ICW, we wouldn't have what it is now, because ICW influenced all these other promotions that are cropping up and drawing down south. ICW was at the forefront of that for a long time, and if it wasn't for us kind of pushing the envelope and making wrestling cool again, I don't know if we would be as popular, or as certainly not at this stage anyway. ICW played a big part in the kind of revolution of British wrestling. And I mean, it's evident. It's evident when you look at the Hydro, as you say, 6,000 people. It's the biggest independent promotion, or the biggest independent show there ever was. It's certainly for the last 34 years in the UK, since the days of Johnny Saint and Cat Weasel and that.
You work as a coach at the Glasgow Pro Wrestling Asylum, which is a training academy, I believe, for ICW. In fact, I think you founded the school. Tell people a little bit about the GPWA.
So the GPWA is based in Glasgow. It's Glasgow's city centre. It's the biggest. We've only been open for 3 years. It'll be 3 years this November. We're celebrating our 3rd anniversary. And the amount of talent that we've had through the school so far, these guys are now getting shows up and down the country, which is very rewarding as a coach to see people that have come in with no knowledge of professional wrestling that are now being booked on shows. You don't get much more rewarding than that. As I say, we're based in the city centre, so it's easy for everyone to get to. And the biggest selling point is we've got 2 massive professional wrestling rings. When I first started, when I was 14 years old, we were in a post office kind of community hall, and we were learning to wrestle on judo mats. And I kind of sound like one of those old guys, like back in my day, you don't know how good you've got it kind of thing. But it's really night and day compared to what it was. I mean, we offer a 16-foot wrestling ring and an 18-foot wrestling ring that are fully erect the full time. There's a matted area so we can learn the fundamentals, and it's great to be a part of a coaching team. Is like myself, Lionheart, Jack Jester, Red Lightning, and BT Gunn. And as you say, I was the foundation of this. It was as soon as I got an opportunity. Basically, it came around because ICW needed somewhere to store their wrestling ring. And I said, well, if you're going to pay for storage, you might as well let me put the ring up and teach people how to wrestle. Because at the time, I was looking for somewhere to kind of get myself, just throw myself into professional wrestling. And it's the best thing I've done. The last 3 years have been the best of my wrestling career so far. And I hope the school kind of just continues to turn over great talent.
Now, you were talking a little bit earlier about your match last year at Fear Loathing. You defended your ICW heavyweight title against Trent Seven in a cage match. Fear and Loathing, for those who don't know, is like ICW's version of WrestleMania. It's their biggest show of the year, their biggest crowd. You posted a photo on your Twitter a few days ago that I thought was so cool. It was from last year's show. It was a picture of you riding in on a Harley in front of, their biggest crowd ever as the champion with your father by your side. Would you say that was the best moment of your career so far?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a highlight. That's something I never thought was going to be possible, and there's so many different elements of that make it the coolest thing I've ever done. First of all, walking into the biggest show ever with 6,000 people as the world champion, going into a steel cage match, riding on a Harley Davidson side by side with my father. It doesn't get more proud. I don't get it. I can't think of anything that could make me more proud than that. And my dad, he was certainly over the moon. Obviously, I was inside the cage, but everyone was telling me when he went backstage, he was just beaming with pride, and he was delighted. So to be able to, my dad still works in a pub. He's worked on building sites his whole life. Never did he think he was ever going to do something like that. And to be in a position where I can, do that with him side by side is something that I'll always remember, and I'll cherish forever.
Yeah, I read about that your family owns a pub. I think it's on the East End. And is it true that you still work there once a week?
I don't work there. I just kind of show up if they need anything done. If they need someone covered, if my dad needs to run to the bank or something, I'll look after the place for him. But I worked there since 2007 with my dad. It's the La Cala Bar in Denniston, as you said, in the East End of Glasgow. So being born and raised in the East End of Glasgow has certainly kind of moulded the character that Wolfgang is now. And it's I learned a lot from working in the pub. Certainly how to deal with customers and just having a bit of banter with everyone. It was a great learning experience over the last 10 years, and now to be able to kind of step away from that and relax, and now my dad's got more money, he can look after my mum more, he can spend more time at home now that I'm not there taking a wage. So yeah, he's still there, he's still running, but it's a lot more relaxed now for him, which is another bonus.
This year's show is Fear and Loathing 10. It's Sunday, November 19th, back at the Hydro. Is it true that in 10 years you've only missed one of these shows? Because I think the second one was the only one I couldn't find you on.
I'm not even sure if I missed that, but yeah, as far as ICW is concerned, I was the first one to make it over 100 matches, and you could count in one hand the amount of shows that I've missed. It's, as you said, as I said earlier, it's never been for the money. It's always been for the love of pro wrestling, and especially ICW, because they allow you to go out and do whatever you see fit. They'll write the card, but it's up to you to deliver what you feel is your best performance. And I love wrestling for ICW, and if I wouldn't change it for the world. It's all my friends are there, some enemies too, but that always makes for good entertainment for everyone. So yeah, I'm Mr. ICW as far as that's concerned, match-wise. I don't like missing an ICW event because they're always fun, no matter who I'm in there with, whether it's some American import or as I said, one of my friends. Any match I've had against BT Gunn, Stevie Xavier, have always been a highlight. And the more I get to do that, the happier I'll be. And for the foreseeable future, I don't plan on missing any ICW shows unless I absolutely have to.
Well, the Road to Fear and Loathing tour Kicks off next weekend. They've got shows in Sheffield, Bristol, Liverpool, and Cardiff. I know you'll be in a street fight on that Liverpool show. That all builds to Fear and Loathing 10 next month. I know Rob Van Dam is wrestling. Rey Mysterio is making his ICW debut. Kevin Nash, for one night only, is going to serve as the commissioner. Obviously, you're going to be part of the show, I assume?
I hope to be part of the show. As I said earlier, I'm hoping I'm not going to be whisked away, but with takeovers in the same WWE NXT takeovers in the same weekend, and so is Survivor Series. So unless they put a Team UK into the Survivor Series match, I'm hoping I'm going to be here for the Hydro. Yeah.
Actually, now that you mention that, I like that idea. Team UK at Survivor Series doesn't sound like such a bad idea.
I think if I tell enough people, we might actually get it. If not this year, then maybe next. Yeah.
Well,
Team
good.
UK versus the world.
Well, good. Let's talk more about it then. We'll keep talking about it.
Yeah.
Let's just say you do end up on the Fear and Loathing show, because I'm trying to get a sense here if there's anyone in particular on that ICW roster that you would want to beat the hell out of on that show.
Yeah, there's a few people I like to beat the hell out of, but I think they're already kind of involved in other matches. Just to be on that show, whether it's in the main event or the opening match or anywhere on the card, it would be a privilege and an honour to be part of the show again. If I got to handpick my opponent, I would pick someone I could have the best matches against, and that would be BT Gunn. But unfortunately, he's on his way to hopefully beating Joe Coffey for the world title and becoming the first ever Grand Slam winner. Yeah, so if I make it onto the show, I'll be happy no matter who I face. But if I got to handpick, it would be me versus BT Gunn.
Well, I know you got to run. I think you're teaming with Grado, if I'm not mistaken, on a show in a few hours. I know the two of you have wrestled before. Is this your first time teaming up together?
Yes, actually, I think this is the first time that I've been paired with them. So a few years back, I was planned to team with Grado, and I kind of fell through. Maybe the card got changed, and at the time, I had purchased a wrestling singlet that instead of saying, it was identical to Grado's, although instead of saying Grado, it said Wolfo, just as a joke. And tonight I finally get to wear that singlet and tag with the man himself, Grado. So I'm really looking forward to it. Anytime we go to PBW in Airdrie, the fans are always electric. I mean, we get maybe 300-400 in there, and there's some of the most passionate fans you'll see. And to team with a star like Grado, he entertains me, and to stand beside him and tag with him is something I've been looking forward to for a long time. So yeah, I can't wait for tonight.
Well, that's very cool. Let people know how they can get in touch with you and anything else you'd like to promote. I know you're going to be part of some WWE dates in the UK early next month as well. Yeah,
I'm fortunate enough. I've been invited to the Hydro once again with the WWE, where I'm going to be facing Pete Dunne for his UK Championship. Now, if there was ever an opportunity to be crowned the first ever Scottish UK champion, it's going to be in my hometown of Glasgow. That's on the 1st of November. If I don't manage to take it off him, I get a second chance in Aberdeen 2 days later when we go to the BHG Arena in Aberdeen on November 3rd. It's fantastic to be included in these tours when the WWE come over, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. If people want to get in touch with me and follow me, I'm very active on Instagram with my stories and photos that I'm putting up. You'll see a lot of my kind of character outside of wrestling. That's Wolfgang Wrestler _ Wolfgang Young _ I just changed it recently. Wolfgang Young over on Twitter, I'm always active on there too. Facebook I don't do too well on, so if you want to look me up, it's Wolfgang Young again. But I'm grateful for all the followers that I have, and it's increasing throughout this last year. It's just been booming, and it doesn't seem to be stopping. So if you want to kind of keep up to date with what I'm doing and where I'm going to be, Instagram I would say is first and foremost, because I'm on there every day. I've always had a passion for photographs, and because you can only post photos on Instagram, it's perfect. So yeah, if you want to kind of keep up to date with me, I would recommend Instagram for Wolfgang Wrestler, Wolfgang Young _ or Wolfgang Young on Twitter.
Well, Wolfgang, it's been a pleasure. I've been a fan of yours since the UK tournament. Best of luck, and hopefully we get to see more of you on TV real soon.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you very much for the call. Speak to you soon.
All right, thanks everybody for listening. You can check out full episodes of the Solid Monster Sounds Off every Sunday, and I'll see you back here again real soon. Take care.